from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hey, good Friday. It's Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia sitting in tonight. Speaking of guests, the guest you'd like to have at this moment is Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. I only had her on once when she had a book, and she was pretty reasonable. I was surprised. Marjorie Taylor Greene just moments ago has said she is resigning from Congress, and that will end let's play exactly what she said. I'm a little confused on the date here because there's, each House seat is precious. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene about resigning and somewhat why she's resigning.
There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
All right, so that's imminent, that January 5th. You just heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say that, so let's break down what is going on here. On the one hand, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the backstory is, wanted to run for the Senate from Georgia. Apparently, President Trump sent her a private poll showing she was 20 points down to Ossoff, who is somebody we can beat in the Senate race coming up. So, no, they wouldn't back her in that. That seems to have set off some stuff, but she has always been a Trump supporter, but sometimes a critic. And that's what's happened here, and you heard her, that comment about nobody's playing 4D chess here. So we'd love to get your reaction to the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene, will it be easy just to dismiss her because of some of the wild and crazy things truly that she said, or is this rather surprising given what an all-time supporter, ally of President Trump she was over the last, how many years, without a doubt. 833-482-5337. I think a lot of people will dismiss her on both sides. It's funny to see the left and the View embrace her now, since she was gone after some elements of the Trump agenda. Now, speaking of that, not in the matter of Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'll be clear, I am not a supporter of what went on today with President Trump and his embrace of Mamdani. It helps President Trump, maybe, because he respects Mamdani's political skills, to be playing in the Oval Office as he did today. But I would rather have had, albeit civil, and I'm wondering if you would, more of a back and forth on socialism, on what this guy's up to. Is this guy a jihadist? The president dismissed that of Stefanik, who's running against Hochul, and pretty much said, no, he is a jihadist. He has said things like that over the course of time. Why play games with him? The president was very entertaining, but there's no 4D chess here. Mamdani, I think, is more the winner today than anybody, that he's elevated to a almost mainstream look after going through the Oval Office. Except for a friend of the show, Jack Posobiec, who's a major influencer. He was there with President Trump. This will be cut for. Posobiec is the only one to hit him with the fact that this guy wants to attacks white neighborhoods more than other neighborhoods because they're white, they have privilege. Would you have liked to have seen more of a back and forth? You can be entertaining, you can be pleasant. I don't mean screaming. Rather than glad-handing, bringing this character to the Oval Office today. All right, here's Posobiec going back and forth about Mamdani, long held that he has said this. Of course, he's going to deny it now, but here's how it sounded.
Please. Protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
But to be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
that's what you said.
No, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Liar. Just outright liar. Outright liar. This guy gets to be there. Jack is right with this. That's exactly what he has said many times. It's a fact. You want to live in a fantasy world? Go right ahead. Are you happy about this now? Now, President Trump, I get somewhat the game for him here. He's trying to tap into and take some of the rough edges off the idea that he and the Republican Party are not about the word we all must worship at now because of Mamdani, affordability. Mamdani's done a great job of saying that word again and again and again and again. And his remedies, though, are not going to make things less affordable, more affordable. They are just going to destroy New York City. And I know President Trump dearly loves New York City, there's no doubt. But I think he's trying to get some of the shine of the word affordability today by appearing to go along. Now, we expected Trump, ultimate capitalist, Mamdani, socialist at best, communist at worst. But President Trump is more of a populist than he is a capitalist. And maybe, and I'll be talking to a special guest later on about this, maybe people actually like some forms of socialism. I happen to think, if you haven't heard me before sitting in on the America at Night and the Bohannon Show, I happen to think the NFL is a socialist outfit. They're not capitalist. They're all in it together. The goal is parity. To have enough cities think they can make the playoffs. Tell me, how is it capitalism? In soccer leagues, you know about relegation. If you're the worst team, you get kicked out and another city gets put in. Here, you get the first pick if you're the worst. So I think the NFL is an example, for example, of socialism. Maybe Americans want some degree of socialism. How do you feel about Mamdani now? I know President Trump is playing him here. That's what we're going to hear. Is he really? Or was he playing with the idea that politically for him, it's good to be associated with affordability? Would you have liked to have seen more of an exchange? He just lied there with Jack Posobiec. Of course he said he wants to tax more white neighborhoods. That's we're not making this stuff up about this guy. We could go on for 3 hours. And again, the goal is to make Democrats own Mamdani so that during the midterms they get asked about it constantly, which they will. And as a result of that, they will have to defend it or ignore it or go after him, one or the other. None of them are good political options for them. All right, let me give you the phone lines to get in with Dom from Philadelphia, 833-482-5337. Coming up, too, Republicans today, in honor of Mamdani, had a big resolution teed up in Congress. The resolution said you will condemn socialism. I'll give you the Democrats who voted to condemn socialism throughout the show. And if you don't hear yours in your area, that tells you, I think it was 98 Democrats voted not to condemn socialism today. So, we want to tag them with Mamdani. We don't want to make Mamdani seem brilliant and mainstream. He's not. He's pitching a loser policies that have done before and always fail. He's putting some pizzazz on them, but that's about it. All right, also, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we played you the highlight of what she said as she resigns. You say, well, she was a nutbag anyhow. It used to be people supported her because she was a close ally of Trump. I still think she wants to be a close ally of Trump. And I think part of it is he wouldn't back her for the Senate. I get that. I don't think she could win. All right, 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
It certainly is. Dom Giordano pinch hitting. Follow me on Twitter at DomShow1210, at DomShow1210. So we just told you that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. The big story, too, the love fest, President Trump and Mamdani. I get it, glomming on to affordability, having fun with them. But good time to be talking a little bit socialism, what it is, what it does. Nah, come on. That would have spoiled the fun. Would you have liked to have seen that? Jack Posobiec is the one that asked the one question that broke through. All right, here are some of the Democrats who voted to condemn socialism today. Pete Aguilar in California, Gabe Amo in Rhode Island. I'm surprised at this. Jake Auchinclosh of Massachusetts. That guy's on TV a lot. Brendan Boyle of Philadelphia, where I am. Let's see. The woman who's accused of stealing $5 million from the government, Sheila Sherfilis McCormick of Florida. She voted to condemn socialism. Wow. Catherine Clark of Massachusetts. She's one of the leadership. Jim Clyburn, the kingmaker of South Carolina. Herb Conaway of Jersey. Lou Correa of California. Jim Costa of California. These are all the people that voted to condemn it. But 98 Democrats voted against it. Hakeem Jeffries, wow, he voted to condemn it today. Nice. Let's see, anybody else prominent of these Congress people that you might know? I believe all the people that were involved in that ghastly video attempt, the former military members or intelligence community of the Democrats, I think they all voted to condemn socialism. So, good for them on that, at least. Now, Mark Kelly, my show in Philadelphia on Talk Radio 1210, I'm no longer going to say, I give him a lot of grace, Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, because of the missions he flew in space, because of the missions in the Navy. Today, he's been all over the place saying the same nonsense he started with, that we began the week with here, telling people essentially, you have to defy these orders. And guess whose name came out of his mouth? He invoked the name of Charlie Kirk. Yes, he did, Mark Kelly. And right there, that's the line. He said, when Charlie Kirk was killed, all these people said we have to stop with political violence. Yet, we have President Trump wanting to hang us. Now, I would have tightened up more what Trump said, but the gist of it was, you guys, this may be sedition. I'm waiting for the number 2 at the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, to start an investigation. And if under oath you say your intent is to disrupt the chain of command here in some way, or it comes out it is, realize that could be sedition. And one of the penalties for sedition is what? The death penalty. That's what Trump was getting at here. But Mark Kelly, for a guy with this type of pedigree, and look, I differ with his politics. He was almost their VP choice the last time around, all that stuff. But the bottom line is, he is way out of line in this. And I don't think he deserves the respect for all the military and everything else anymore in the way that he's acting on this. including trying to use the death of Charlie Kirk to shield himself here and make the point that we're engaged in political violence because of a difference of opinion. It's not a difference of opinion. People in the military know. I'm going to play you this hour Republican veterans who put out their own tape tonight, and they made much of the fact that people in the military know about the ability to refuse an illegal order. And all these people are doing, though, is trying to say that Trump himself is like an illegal order, anything that he does. Chrissy Houlihan, who's from my neck of the woods in the Philadelphia suburbs, will play it too. She was on CNN, and she told the commentator, the host there, that, well, Trump has already issued 200 illegal orders. What? Yeah. She talked about how judges have knocked down his orders. Those are not orders, you dope. Those are policy things he wanted to do. The Democrats sued, and many times these are Obama judges that just by course, because they hate Trump, knocked him down. Those are not orders. President said policy. So under that, how many times where it was Biden knocked down for things he was doing, or Obama, should we have said, you know what, you have the right to refuse their illegal orders? Can you imagine a woman goes on national TV on CNN, Erin Burnett show, and tries to claim these judges knocking down Trump's directives on immigration or whatever? That should count as illegal orders. That's why we have to alert the military to this. Are those illegal orders? These are policy decisions as the executive, and someone can sue. And by the way, in most of them, if not all of them, the final decision is not in. This is the way our system works. The executive can try to put some policy in place. People have a right to sue, and then the other branch can determine whether or not these are legal, constitutional, whatever. They're not orders. This is what they're getting away with. So I'll play you the Republican response, which I think is a good one. But Mamdani and the president today, are you okay with that? A lot of politicians, conservatives, are not, like Elise Stefanik. She claims he's a jihadist. The president said, come on now, jihadist. He is. He said stuff along those lines. Who are we kidding with this? All right, love to talk with you. 833-482-5337. That's all that you have to do. Hit that. We'll play a little bit more. This issue really has me roiled. Mark Kelly is outrageous on this. You cannot invoke. You have no right to bring up Charlie Kirk. You brought up something that you should just admit and walk away from, how damaging this is. Now you want to bring Charlie Kirk in it to act as a shield. That's pretty low. Your military service, honorable, etc. We get it. But you know what? You've worn out your welcome, Mark Kelly. All right, Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia sitting in tonight. Follow on Twitter at Dom Show 1210. America at Night on Westwood 1.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
That's exactly right. Dom Giordano, happy to be with you and all next week. Follow on Twitter at Dom Show 1210. Love to chat with you. Mamdani and the president, not exactly what I would have wanted today. You see it differently. Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns January 5th, I think she said. And again, I gave you some of the backstory. But she was a heck of an ally of the president. Is she right on any of this stuff? And I read you some of the people who did vote today to condemn socialism. 98 Democrats couldn't do that, though. Wow. Let's go to Todd. Then I'm going to tell you what Chuck Schumer is going to ask Republicans to condemn. We're into the condemning game, and it's a tricky one for Republicans. You'll see. Let's go to Todd in Atlanta, Georgia. WGKA. Todd, thanks for leading off. Go right ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Dom. Today, the Muslim Brotherhood mayor of New York, Mamdani, meeting with Trump, to me is tragic because London and New York are now, taking over. And I think that somebody should have brought up his support for BDS, for globalize the Intifada, which means kill the Jews around the world.
Right.
And his support for the Hamas Nazis.
Well, without a doubt, but, the president is the one that would rather glad hand with him, chat him up, and elevate him to a national figure, I would say a mainstream figure. Todd, Jack Posobiec, who's a friend, is the one that asked him about the white neighborhoods. He lies about it, then you're shut down. What are you going to do?
Well, I think he's kind of setting it up. He wants to give him a good send-off, so when everything blows up, you can't blame Trump, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm betting right now that Trump is not going to go after New York City. I get it; he loves New York City. Look, Todd, I am in Philadelphia. I'm known for being Dom of Philadelphia and all that stuff, but I'm not going to defend Philadelphia. It's a progressive socialist mob that's here now. I'm not going to protect him. I don't think the president ought to do that either. Yeah,
I think you're right, because but I think Trump is going to just wait and see what happens because, he's a realist and he's going to be the mayor. So, just like de Blasio, who I think was the first communist mayor of New York, we're just going to have to endure what happens. I mean, I got a niece living up there, so I'm kind of worried for her.
Well, but here's my thing, Todd. I have one thought in mind with Mamdani, and you probably guessed it. Tactically, to use him to win the midterms, to pound on him so that they have to defend. The media does ask Democrats about this, and they're wildly uncomfortable. And I was hoping the president would do more of that today rather than how this came out.
Yeah. I was expecting a fight, to be honest with you. I was worried. Mamdani was going to slip in a plastic shiv or something, the way they've been going at it.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you very much. Right. Now, I don't think this is 4D chess. I think Trump likes the affordability thing, thinks this guy's kind of slick. We'll play with it a little bit. This was a moment to confront this. And when asked about the jihadist thing, at least Stefanik is hitting Kathy Hochul with that. Trump should have backed her up. That's what we want. You don't need a brawl with the guy, but we couldn't make points there, broader points about capitalism. Our system is successful. Socialism is not. You are a socialist. That's what this guy is going to do. Why continue to play games with it? If you're going to give him the grand stage, you have to unmask him a bit. I'm not saying it has to be a street fight. All right. Zelenskyy had more of a back and forth with Trump than Mamdani did. By the way, now we have Putin and Zelenskyy on the clock. We're going to take away, now let's see what happens, our support for Ukraine if a deal is not struck by Thanksgiving. That's only 6 days away. Tony in Montreal, WVMT. Hi, Tony. Welcome.
How you doing, Dom?
Good.
I'm kind of astounded by the clips that I heard on Mamdani and Trump, and I also I mentioned to your screener that I wanted to speak about the 6 individuals that are trying to back off from their I guess they're obstructing and saying that Trump is making these illegal orders. We talked about this yesterday, but this is not a My Lai situation. This is not Nuremberg, where people are telling you to kill Jews and to kill Vietnamese.
Yeah, and Tony, to that point, so that I can, for other listeners, you get it, but Houlihan actually said with Erin Burnett, who didn't correct her, well, he's lost 200 times in court. So what? Those are not orders. It's policies, and some of these judges reject him just because he's Trump. He didn't issue 200 illegal orders. That's why she said they did this as a cautionary tale. My God.
So let me ask you something, Dom. You lost 55,000 people in Vietnam over a period of number of years of that war. I don't know if it was 10, 15 years.
Yes.
You lost 650,000 people to fentanyl. That's 6 times Vietnam.
Right.
Why aren't the people in the Democratic Party saying, hey, we had 6 Vietnams, and this is the only president that's trying to stop this? Like, I got a message to you guys and these Democrats and Mamdani and the socialists and the social Democrats. They call themselves social Democrats. What they do is spend your money. They spend the taxpayers' money, and they believe that they have the right fit and the right ideas. Well, let's put it this way. I don't believe that anybody should attack any country, whether it's surreptitious through narco warfare or cartel warfare, and I also include the Islamofascists. We're not Islamophobes, Dominic. We are traditional North American people. Right,
and Tony, let me interrupt to make this point about President. I think one of his best qualities is he's not going to accept the business as usual. The business as usual is other presidents just said, what are we going to do? And he said, okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. And next, I hope he hits the Mexican cartels with drones. They're even easier to hit.
I was in his White House staff. I would advocate for immediate intervention into Mexico, which is a cartel-led government. I would attack every cartel location, and the U.S. government, CIA, and everybody else knows exactly where they are. You have to take out the poison. And you know what? Any people that are listening to me and say, oh, the Canadian dudes weren't nothing. Listen, we were the last guys to leave Afghanistan with you. And per capita, we lost as many people in Afghanistan as the Americans. And we did not back out like the British. We stayed till the last day. So
Thank
we were
you,
there
Tony.
in World War
That's
I,
all
World
true.
War II.
That's all true. The Canadians were. That's absolutely. And in World War II, storming the beaches of Normandy, they were. Thank you, Tony. Have a great weekend. Okay. 833-482-5337. That's where we'd like you to be. I'll play you coming up the Republican congressman's response to the nonsense. But can you imagine saying on CNN, well, we did this as a precautionary tale because Trump has already issued 200 illegal orders that judges have struck down. This is not orders. It's policy. Presidents get to make policy. And then the courts sometimes decide, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't do this. That's what they're there for. There's nothing wrong with that. This isn't ordering people to do illegal things. By the way, this Houlihan woman, too, was on another CNN show, and she actually said she comes from a Navy family, and her dad told her about illegal orders and said, you must then run these up the chain of command. And she was being asked exactly what Tony was talking about drug running in the Caribbean. And she actually said, well, yeah, you tell your commanding officer, I can't do that. That's an illegal order. She's even talking as it's going on, as they're ready to drone strike one of these ships that can get up to 160 miles an hour, one of these speedboats. And she was asked, well, what if the commanding officer says, no, it is a legal order? Then she said you should go to the next level of the chain of command. Well, Chrissy Houlihan, when we get to the end of the chain of the command, who has said this is a legal order? The President of the United States. Can you imagine what will happen in the military if these Democrats get their way and people are acting in the manner that I just told you? We have hundreds and hundreds of military people. What would that be like in the military? 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Absolutely. 833-482-5337. Get you to me, Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia. Follow on Twitter at Dom Show 1210. I'm confused. Marjorie Taylor Greene out. She and the president at odds. Mamdani in. What a day. All right. Here's the thought. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene tag in and become a semi-regular on The View? Or would she be too difficult to handle? In other words, her conservatism, and she's not a Trump hater like the woman that's on there now enough. So maybe they would occasionally tag her in just to get that. That's the surest way to get a gig there. Surprising? I told you the backstory. It's some of that. She's hurt that she can't run for the Senate. Will she run for president in 2028? Anything's possible. What a day. But I didn't like the look of the Mamdani Trump aftermath today. I get it. President Trump trying to talk about affordability and get some of the shine of this guy. Okay, let's see what he does next. But today kind of elevated him. I could see a Trump Mamdani ticket, people on Fox are saying. All right, let's go to John in Nokesville, Virginia, WMAL. Hi, John.
Hi, Don. Thanks for taking my call.
You're
Great
welcome.
Show.
Thank you.
I got a couple of, at first my reaction was kind of like yours. Why would you elevate this guy at all? But I really do think that Trump is playing the long ball game. I think he knows that anything he does, the Democrats will go after. So one thing is that they could go after him like sharks. The Democrat Party could go after the mayor-elect like sharks. That's one thing that could happen. And I think he also is trying to say, I'm a nice guy. I can deal with almost anybody. And he's going to
that part is that. Wait a minute, that part is fine. The second part you said, I'm not saying he has to be uncivil here, but John, wasn't this a great opportunity, as Jack Posobiec did with the one question, to underline the difference in a way that you could say, look, I got along with this guy, I heard him out, I'm that type of guy, but in the end, socialism doesn't work, capitalism does. Couldn't there be more of that?
I think Congress doing what it did today was doing that function for Trump at the same time he was doing his thing.
Well, I don't know what his thing is, though, John. I get for himself personally, but I think it's a failure when you have the socialist there and he gets to move on. Socialism wasn't challenged today. Now, whether Trump challenges a policy he does down the road, maybe, that's true, but he didn't challenge with the socialists there, the avowed socialist, anything.
Well, like I said, I think that the Mamdani will either fall into line to become more capitalist and reasonable, or he'll do his thing that he's saying he's going to do and fail miserably. And then Trump can say, hey, I tried to help this guy out. It always fails. Socialism always fails. But I do think that he's going to be like shark bait with the Dems now because he has met with Trump and tried to make good with Trump. I think they're going to eat their own.
I differ. Okay, well, I hope to talking to you again, say 6 months from now, John, because I think they think, and on MSNBC, they're celebrating this. Wow, this guy went in, and he got the gold standard of appeal here. And, John, I think Trump is much more of a guy who zigs and zags all over the place here. He's not really a capitalist. Do you think President Trump is a capitalist? As a president?
Very much so a capitalist, but he's all he is not a true conservative. Never has been a true conservative.
Well, we got onto a great point here. To me, I'm willing to give a little bit of grace. I get that the guy's a great maneuverer, but only so much, John. I'd rather have conservative policies than a guy who doesn't do that so much, even though occasionally, in moments that you need it, I'm willing to say you don't have to go by the book. You can improvise. Is that a failing? Is he not conservative enough?
Are you asking me if he's conservative enough?
Yes.
Well, he has enough strong central conservative issues that he has the conservatives behind him. As a populist, he's got enough of those issues that we agree with.
Okay. I'm just asking you, though, maybe I'm expecting too much. As I said, I'm not going to quibble here and there on some things. He's a master improviser. I'm just saying I want more overt conservatism if I had my druthers. That would be more perfect to me.
I think he's extremely intelligent and extremely pragmatic, and I think he has a game plan here.
All right. Thank you, John. You should run for office. He's right, though, that he is not a conservative in that sense. I'm not someone who just reads out of a dictionary. That's it. No, you got to give some grace here to improvise, to win the day and all that. And I do that with Trump. Okay, phone lines. 833-482-5337. No one's taking me up on this, though, because socialism, capitalism in the news here. Is the NFL socialist? I say that it is. And I'd say that America, like it or not, wants certain elements of things that are socialist. When do we know we've crossed the line where America doesn't want a brand of socialism? Aren't there things that we have that are socialism, Social Security and all? Good socialism, bad socialism, government-run supermarkets, bread lines. 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
America at Night, Dom Giordano pinch hitting. And what a day, huh? Marjorie Taylor Greene out, former all-time ally of the president. Mamdani, a star at the White House today. Quite a day. Again, what Trump does with news cycles is incredible. There's not a 24-hour cycle. It's every 20 minutes. There's another burst of something that you may or may not expect. But as we kind of end phase one here today, just take a look at the stuff that's happened. Particularly take a look at Ukraine. Are we really going to rescind all aid to Ukraine if there's not a peace deal signed off? And Trump put out a very, very detailed 28-point situation by Thanksgiving. It's maddening to see it play out, and the one guy that can make it happen is Putin, who's a master at just allowing this to go on as long as it is to his advantage, and it is. And that's the game we're playing. So I'm not sure if, say, next Friday, Black Friday, suddenly we hear from President Trump that we're not going to fund Ukraine anymore. Hard to know how much we're actually funding at this point. But we've seen Democrats this week, at the end of the day, I think, get beaten back pretty effectively on the nonsense they pulled that we've been talking about every night, because we've not seen anything like this, where 6 of them try to sow discord in the military they claim to love. One of them, Chrissy Houlihan from my neck of the woods, says on national TV, well, we had to do this because President Trump has already had 200 illegal orders beaten back. She's talking about court cases where Trump says, I want to do this. I'm using executive power, executive order, call it what you will. And it goes to court, and the judge looks at it either honestly or they're an Obama judge that's just going to block him, and they say no. Sometimes they say yes. How in the world can she say that's an illegal order and Trump is going to continue to do this? That's why the military must resist. Stupidity is part of this too. Incompetency. All right. Follow me on Twitter at DomShow1210. Would love to have you join. And at 833-482-5337. That's the line you can always use here. But this is a big night. We'll see how Mamdani plays. What will Trump, will he weave and do something else with him? Certainly possible. All right, you're listening to America at Night with Dom Giordano sitting in on Westwood One. Live from the city that never sleeps.
17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hey, here's your host, Dom Giordano, sitting in tonight from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia, noon until 3, and follow on Twitter at DomShow1210. A couple of things. I'll play you the Republican response, their veterans finally, putting in perspective what these Democrat military people have done this week, trying to disrupt the military. But special guest coming up at about 15 minutes from now here on America at Night, Ted Jenkin. He's all over the place today because he wrote this piece at Fox News, 5 big points, capitalism versus socialism. Like lesson 1, capitalism expands supply, socialism rations it. Absolutely true. So did the president miss an opportunity today? We were expecting this showdown around this. There was none of that. He mainly centered in on 2 things, if I had to say, President Trump. One, that Mamdani is quite a campaigner, articulate the whole thing. And 2, he and Mamdani agree greatly on affordability. I get it. That's what he's after. And it's smart to try to take away some of this, you're not paying attention, you're a fat cat billionaire, you don't care about affordability, trying to glom on some of that with Mamdani. I just wanted to hear more, even in a playful way, the back and forth on socialism. Because if not, we're basically just saying this guy, who I believe is more of a communist ultimately than anything, a spoiled brat who went to a school of $60,000 a year with parents who paid it his way, and now wants to inflict that on New York, defund the police, social workers, the whole thing, jihadists. That's what he is. I don't think you can just do this photo op and allow him to have that. I think there's got to be some challenge there. Well, that would have made Trump look, but why? I mean, that's our guy in this. He represents our way of life. Mamdani represents the way of life of socialism at best and communism. That's what it comes down to. And all these people that think he's going to back off because he hasn't made sudden moves here, I think they're wrong. They're bargaining in their mind. Look, people want to stay in New York. Okay, a lot of people, there's a sense of place, excitement, and all that. I say this all the time with Jersey. How did Jersey elect this Mikey Sherrill, who's a disaster, and beat Jack Ciattarelli by 13 points? One of the reasons is people complain about the high taxation, the regulation, progressivism, what they do in Jersey, but they don't move. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think enormous numbers of people are going to move from New York City. I think that, yes, there will be people that can't take it. They move to Long Island or wherever, ever, and all that. There will be some of that. But not enough that is going to make it so painfully obvious. Why? Well, deep down, I don't know about Mamdani, but these people in Jersey know that people want Jersey. They want to be where they grew up. They want all that. Now, getting outside the boundaries of New York, being close to New York, okay. With Jersey, though, you're either in Jersey or not in Jersey. So if we have this conversation 6 months from now, are enormous numbers of people actually just going to move out of New York? I'd say they don't want to move. Moving's a pain. It's their home. There's all that stuff that goes with New York. It's not for me. Some years I have to go to New York quite a bit, and I hate it. And I'm aggressive and from Philadelphia. But it's too much. It's too expensive. It's too crowded. It's all those. Yeah, it's exciting for 5 minutes. And then it's like, oh, let me out of here. I don't know if that's the way you feel about New York, but I get it why people will not leave. All right, here is now some of the Republicans in Congress who served in the military pushing back on this Democrat attack to sow discord in the military this week. Here's what they said.
We must be loyal to the oath that we swore to stand firmly with America.
I'm Congressman Jim Baird.
I am Joe Wilson.
Representative Nick LaLota.
Congressman Zach Nunn.
Representative John McGuire.
Representative Keith Self.
Congressman Rich McCormick.
Representative Barry Moore.
Representative Rick Crawford.
August Pfluger.
Congressman Andrew Clyde.
Congressman Tom Barrett.
Former Navy.
Former Vietnam Army combat veteran.
Retired Colonel of the South Carolina Army National Guard.
Marine Corps pilot.
Former member of the Alabama National Guard.
Former Army Special Forces Green Beret.
Former U.S. Army soldier.
An Air Force veteran.
28-year Navy officer.
United States Army. After my active duty service, I joined the intelligence community.
As a former Navy SEAL veteran, I want to speak directly to the members of the military and our intelligence community.
I want to speak directly to the members of the military and the intelligence community.
I want to speak directly to the members of the military and the intelligence community. Like you, I raised my right hand because I love this country. I believe in something bigger than myself.
That freedom is not free.
My oath was clear. Uphold the Constitution.
That commitment is powerful.
We all understand the importance of the chain of command.
Troops, listen up. Any service member who refuses a lawful order is subject to court-martial for violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
We study what's lawful and what's not lawful, and the Democrats stunt insinuating that they're illegal or unconstitutional orders. It's downright dangerous.
It is corrosive. It is meant to weaken our country and weaken the military.
Do not give in. Stand firm in your duty.
Protect the American populace from an enemy that would do us harm. That's the right thing to do, and that is a lawful order.
Your commitment to this nation is vital.
Stay focused on the mission, defend the Constitution, and remember the oath we took to defend America.
Remember the promise we made, so help us God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Troops, thank you for serving. Continue to prepare for the fight.
All right, there you go. There's the rebuttal. I would have emphasized the word stunt there. They said it once. Emphasize that again and again and again. It was a stunt. Has it backfired? We'll see. It was a stunt. Nothing more but a stunt and Trump derangement syndrome. A stunt. I would put that in at the beginning, the middle, and end, and just have the last 10 seconds stunt, 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 stunt. That's all that they're doing. Shameful. Were they really in the military? They think that little of it to do what they've been doing. All right. The big story today, though, is Mamdani and President Trump. Only Jack Posobiec is the only one I see that asked a pointed question to him about, are you really going to tax white neighborhoods more in New York? This is what he said repeatedly. He gets a lot of applause for this. And he lied and said no. What's Shaq going to do with the president there? They're going to argue over this? Are they going to take out a piece of paper? Of course he's going to lie. He's just going to smile and say no. And then that's exactly what he's trying to do. Should he have been challenged more today? I say yes. The net is he's the one that gains the most out of this. Now, we're going to talk with a guy who is a capitalist and put out a big article just in time today on Fox News, Ted Jenkin. He put up 5 points in a beautiful way, contrasting what capitalism does and what socialism does. For example, capitalism expands the supply of things. Socialism, you know what happens, rations it. That's exactly what will happen here. Government-run food store, imagine. All right, we'll break that down with him. And then coming up, I told you that today Republicans put up a bill. Do you condemn socialism? 98 Democrats would not condemn socialism. Republicans are going to meet this test this week. Chuck Schumer apparently is going to put up a resolution. Do you condemn Nikki Fuentes? Now, you may have heard that name. I'll try to break it down who he is and why this idiot is driving a wedge in the Republican Party. And Democrats are going to try to exploit that. This will be in the Senate to vote, not in the House, but it's a similar type of thing. I'm not sure what Republicans will do. All right, Ted Jenkin next. Dom Giordano on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
That is exactly right. Dom Giordano, thrilled to bring you a great guest. He was ready today. Ted Jenkin is the president of Exit Stage Left Advisors. His op-ed at Fox News today was from a capitalist for a Democratic Socialist, point by point, contrasting socialism in an interesting way with capitalism. I want to sign this guy up right now, though. Upcoming op-ed, where did all the turkeys go? Christmas creep is taking over America. That's a great title. Let's bring in Ted Jenkin. Ted, we've been following you all day, loving the stuff you're putting out. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here, Dom. Thanks for having me on.
Why is your group called Exit Stage Left Advisors?
Well, the thing I do today is when business owners plan to sell their company and they're ready to exit stage left, we take them to market, those that were capitalists and built their business, and then I help them sell it.
Okay, fair enough. And the new thing you're going to put up on YouTube, when do you think this will be up? Red, White, and Green. YouTube show focused on teaching people about capitalism and how to build wealth.
We are doing this right here in January. I think it's completely necessary right now. This is going to be financial advice for people who love America. We're going to teach them about capitalism and how to start a company, how to grow it, how to build it, and then one day sell it.
Well, before we get to the 5 points you put out, which were beautifully done, I don't know if you agree with me, with our listeners today, our image of socialism / communism, the one thing over the years with all of our guests and all, the narrative would be waiting in line every single day for hours and not getting what you want, a bread line or a supermarket line. That's what socialism is.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. In fact, I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta just rolled out its first sort of city-owned, grocery-run store, and I don't like it. I don't think it's a great idea. I mean, in grocery stores today, you have models that are very inexpensive like Aldi, and you have ones that are very expensive like Whole Foods out there. I mean, that's capitalism. People shop where they want to shop, and different people put out different models, and the consumer decides.
I didn't know they had that in Atlanta. How long is that, and how's that going, Ted?
It literally just went live at the end of August, called Azalea. Okay. And, of course, people like it in the beginning because, prices are this is a private-public partnership, so it's not exactly government-run. But it's one of those things that it's too early to tell how much it might undercut local grocery stores or other grocery stores in general.
All right, let's start some of your points. Lesson 1, capitalism expands supply, socialism rations it. Did you start with that because you think that's really the thing that's most visible early on?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think it was sort of front and center in the White House today. The number one thing that you're going to hear about in the next 12 months is the word affordability. You're going to hear about housing affordability and about food affordability. And when you try to control price rather than increase supply, that's the socialism way, right? Freeze rents and allow the government to set the rules of who pays for what. But it's not the way that Trump has been or anybody that's a capitalist. We build more housing and we can build more affordable housing. You can do it through incentivizing developers and cutting zoning delays and all kinds of things like that. Tax credits, we've done this for years. But it's not by freezing prices and trying to control prices.
What would you're an advisor, though. Here's the tension with that. I hear what you're saying. It takes a while before that happens. I'm stunned, Ted. I'm on a big talk station in Philadelphia, filling in tonight. I'm quarterbacking our coverage on election night, particularly New Jersey. I'm in Philadelphia. And I start to see at 8:43, only 40 minutes or so into the exit polling and everything else, they're declaring Mikey Sherrill the governor. I thought Cettarelli, the other guy, the Republican, might lose, but by a point, something like that. And her main thing she emphasized is, I am going to freeze prices, electric prices, things of that nature. How do we counter that aggressively?
It's very difficult, right?
Okay.
When people lose hope, they turn into desperation. And desperate people say, well, if I can't do this myself, who can I depend on? Let me go to the government. And while that feels like a really good thing short term when Americans hear that, in the end, it's always a bad thing. It's never been proven to work anywhere, but this is what politicians do. It's like offering for student council, I'm going to offer you free lunch and unlimited recess, and you're not going to have school on Fridays. Of course, you're going to elect me, but I'm not going to be able to deliver. And that's exactly what you'll see in New Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the woman in Seattle who I think is to the left. I don't know if you followed her. I think she's to the
Yeah, I
left of
do.
Mamdani. At least
She
Mamdani is slick in the whole thing. This woman has her mom pay for her child care, and she didn't hold a job until she was in her late 30s.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. She's got the personality of a wet blanket. She's not like she's not like Mamdani at all, but yet, has that same core belief system, right? The government will take care of you, and she has that same idea of offering lots of free services. Who's going to pay for it? That's always the question. Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take one more, then we'll take a break and we'll get the rest of it. So, lesson 2. Capitalism attracts capital. Socialism chases it away. In agreement, but I'm telling you, and I'm not sure if Mamdani thinks this way, Ted. I have to deal with Jersey where I am. People love the place they grew up in. There's an attachment. It's not flyover country. It's got pop, New York. Do you think people are going to be chased away from New York? Are we really going to see capital move out of there, et cetera, en masse?
Well, I mean, you've seen some of it already. I mean, even Trump himself resides in Florida, and look at the state of New Jersey, highest property taxes in the country from a percentage basis, right? One of the highest few income state taxes. And over time, when you start thinking about paying 10, 12, 14, maybe in New York City, it'll be 17 or 18% of your income to the government, and you have another state that says it's going to be 0. This is just math over time. People may not want to leave New York City, but when you do the math, you have states like Texas and Tennessee and Florida and many others where you can live and keep a lot more of your paycheck. So, yeah, I do think that you will see people, maybe not initially here, but over the next 12 months as Mamdani tries to implement some of these policies, they'll leave.
Well, I plead insanity to you. It helps me on the air to say I'm not a big mouth guy from the suburbs. I'm a big mouth guy sitting right now in Philadelphia, which is a progressive city par excellence. So I have insane. You're in Atlanta, though, Ted, right?
Yeah, I am.
There you go. All right, Ted, I'm loving this. We're going to continue with the other points you made today in this big article. We're talking with Ted Jenkin, president of Exit Stage Left Advisors. We'll tell you how to find him. And I got to get more on this upcoming article, I guess this week. Where did all the turkeys go? Christmas creep is taking over America. You know, even my wife has this idea. She hates it that Halloween stuff, well, you're barely out of school, and then they're selling back-to-school clothes. Then Halloween is there, and it's still 90 degrees out. Has Christmas creep taken over all this stuff? Is that really true? We'll ask Ted about that, too. Ted Jenkin with me. You're listening to Dom Giordano. Yes, I do plead insanity. I'm still in Philadelphia, but on the air, I like it versus being in the suburbs. It gives me some stake in the game when these issues come up. But it is insane. Are people going to flee New York? Really? We'll talk more with Ted about the other 3 points on capitalism versus socialism. You're listening to America at Night, right here on Westwood One.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. And you sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
All right, Dom Giordano sitting in on America at Night with a great guest, Ted Jenkin joining us. Ted, one of the things you wrote in this article people can find at Fox News still is Trump should say, Zohran, the reason Americans have 47 kinds of cereal is because of capitalism. Under socialism, they'd be lucky to get one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can hate Elon Musk or like Elon Musk, and people say, oh, you know, he may be worth $1 trillion one day, but just think about who creates all the jobs? It's all the people that build the businesses and give Americans choice. And he's building tons of game-changing businesses and creating tens of thousands of jobs. Yes, you should be rewarded for that. What does the government do? Remember when they took over Amtrak? That's why we got we got the worst rail system in the entire world. I mean, our rail system is terrible because when the government takes over things, they don't run it well. This is why capitalism innovates and socialism standardizes.
I wanted to ask you this question. I am a big sports guy, but basketball is my sport. Maybe that's one of the reasons. The NFL just dominates. I believe the NFL is socialism, and some forms of socialism we find acceptable. They take the hard edges off capitalism. You have a draft. You have parity. They're constantly about parity. Ted, I don't know if you follow the Falcons, but the Eagles have innovated with the tush push, something that is 99% unstoppable. They're trying to stop it because the NFL doesn't want one team to dominate or anything. They want parity. They want every team like Atlanta to think they have a shot to make the playoffs and get in there. So do you think Americans want some limited forms of socialism?
No.
Okay. Yeah?
No. I mean, listen, the people that ask for this right now are the people, like I said, they've lost hope. They have desperation. So what do? You depend on somebody else for it. I want to wake up every day in this America and be able to build a business and keep the upside. I want to be able to work the extra hours and keep more of the money. You invent something valuable, look, you should get paid for it. But that's been the American way for 250 years.
What I'm saying, though, Ted, is in complete agreement. There's a line that's crossed where people object. Do you see any things that would see? I see some of these as socialistic. Would you differ, like Social Security, some of the safety net things? Americans seem to want that, or do you think they don't really?
Well, I think there's a lot of Americans take Social Security that would have loved, back 25 years ago if it became a privatized system. Now, unless they start taxing the people that can actually pay for it, it's going to become a broke system, right? That's the way that it's going to work. That's the way it's going to work out.
Ted, one of the other things you mentioned, capitalism creates jobs, socialism creates dependency. Without a doubt, what do you say? You know what the classic argument is. You're a guy, you may have heard this before. Sanders says it. I'm not sure if Mamdani says it. We're not going to do the type of socialism they had or communism. We're going to do what they do in Denmark or Sweden or something. That's the usual dodge, a socialism that will have all the upside with none of the downside.
Right. That's like buying investments in the stock market, right? Sometimes people tell you, hey, we'll give you an investment that you get all the upside in the S&P 500, but you can't lose any money. It's quite remarkable to me because the argument a lot of them will have is those countries people are the happiest anywhere. In America, people aren't happy because they can actually go out and make a lot of money. If everyone made the same amount of money, everyone would be just much happier. And I don't really believe that to be true. I think people have always come to this country, and still in droves, they want to come to this country for the opportunity to be the best that they can be. In those countries, you simply can't.
Yeah, it develops a mindset that's marshmallow there. Yeah, exactly right. Now, I wanted to talk with you about the upcoming article, because I may have to delve into this last hour of the show tonight. My wife, even, who usually doesn't get fired up, is very peaceful, calm, puts up with me. Gets enraged, though, when we see Halloween creep in August. Back to school clothing a week after you're out of school. You have an upcoming article on Fox, it tells me here. Yeah. Where did all the turkeys go? Christmas creep is taking over America. When does this drop, and what are you saying in it, Ted?
This drops on Sunday, and listen, I am so fed up about this that the moment you finish your pumpkin latte, immediately the peppermint lattes come out. It's almost like Halloween ends, the Christmas lights comes out. Thanksgiving is the one holiday that it's not political, it's agnostic. We give thanks, we watch football, we eat turkey, and yet the retailers, they got to say, oh, get out of your chair and start shopping online today on Thursday. They can't even wait to Friday anymore. It's almost, Tom, it's almost sacrilegious. It's almost sacrilegious. We need Thanksgiving back. It's an important holiday in people's lives.
It's the best holiday to me, to your point, because it's nothing then about getting together, great food, family, and football. How can you go wrong? There's no ulterior motive or anything else that's out there, Ted. Do you write often? Have you written for Fox before?
I write to them almost every week now. I put out an article almost every week on all kinds of stuff. But most of my articles I put out about capitalism or things I see in America that I think Americans need to know, because we got a great country and you can make the most of it every single day. People just need to see it. So I write on it about once a week now.
Where do people find Exit Stage Left Advisors? Your website, or where do they go, or follow you on Twitter?
Yeah.
Where do we go, Ted?
You can follow me on Instagram at the real Ted Jenkin, or you can go to esladvisors.com. That's an easy place to get me. And hit me up anytime. I'm always interested in talking about these topics.
I'm going to be doing that for a podcast I do on schools and school choice and kids. I'm a former teacher, Ted, so I'll be in touch with you in the near future. I'll try to respect the creep of Christmas, though, spoiling your Thanksgiving. I don't want to get you in the middle of turkey or anything. Really enjoyed it tonight. It's a great piece. This is still up at Fox, I think. The headline is, I don't have the headline here. Ted, what's the headline? I don't see it in front of me. I have the 5 points, but...
mine was the 5 ideas Trump would give Mamdani at the White House today. And, he gave him some of them, but not all of them.
Absolutely. Ted, have a great Thanksgiving if we don't talk. And are you a Falcons fan? I'll say go whatever the Falcons are.
I actually grew up in New Jersey, so I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, well, my chaplain it's a little bit late, but my chaplain will be praying for you, Ted. They have to be better.
He should pray for me.
Yeah, exactly. Ted, thank you. Thanks for coming on tonight very much.
All right, you got it.
All right, there is Ted Jenkin, president of Exit Stage Left Advisors. Great stuff from him. I didn't hear much of that with the president today on capitalism. All right, let me throw something out there, and I bet a lot of people have heard this name, but you don't recognize exactly, and I'm not going to, I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version, if there's such a thing as Cliff Notes still. The Democrats today should be embarrassed, and slightly, with Mamdani. The Republicans put up a resolution to kind of soften the battlefield for President Trump today, saying, do you condemn socialism? 98 Democrats would not sign that resolution. 98, the vast majority of them would not. So Schumer in the Senate is going to, this coming week apparently, push a resolution condemning white supremacist, and he is a nutbag, Nicky Fuentes. Now, this is a guy most recently in the news where Tucker Carlson said, why would I not interview this guy? Well, Tucker, the reason you wouldn't interview him is he doesn't have a vast audience. He's overselling that. And the stuff that he has said about Jews, the Holocaust, women, etc., are clearly way out of bounds and are, one of a better term, hateful. So what should Republicans do? Now, even at the Heritage Foundation, of all places, one of their board members, who I've had on over the years, Robert George, that I really like, a man of principle, conservative, he quit the Heritage Foundation because the head of the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative mainstream think tank, Project 25, etc., supported Tucker Carlson giving this huge national platform to this Nick Fuentes guy who once had dinner with the president. Megyn Kelly jumps into the ring, apparently supported. He is viciously anti-Semitic. Holocaust didn't happen. I'm not even going to say some of the things he said about the number of Jews that were killed and how he arrives at that. So what should Republicans do with this? They're trying to drive a wedge into this, and I think it's clear they ought to condemn this guy. But some of them are afraid that Fuentes and his followers and the support, the big megaphone of Tucker Carlson, is something they don't want to have to deal with. They could be threatening, they could come after you, etc. They're called gropers that are associated with this guy. Bill O'Reilly is a friend. Bill Maher, who I've had on many times, on their show last week, they both said, no, they wouldn't have given a platform to this guy. What should Republicans do? Here's how you get on board, 833-482-5337. Your calls are next, and give me your reaction. Great stuff from Ted Jenkin. A real find. Thanks to the guys that got him on today. 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Absolutely, do that right now. You want to get in, Dom Giordano. Great stuff. We just heard from Ted Jenkin. Love to get your response to that. I didn't see a lot of it with the President Mamdani today, but okay. And Nikki Fuentes now takes center stage. I mean, this guy seems to have a fairly limited audience, but people are afraid of it. Chuck Schumer sensing that the president has not condemned him, so they're going to try to force this vote, just like Republicans skillfully did with Democrats and socialism today. Have you heard of this guy and the stuff that he's involved in? And he is part of this group that just is so despondent that America has failed them. They essentially want to burn it down. And they see Trump as the agent to do that rather than, as I see Trump, which is the remedy to get rid of this despondency. Let's go to Jerome, Charleston, South Carolina, WTMA. Jerome, welcome to America at Night. I was in Charleston on vacation. Great town, and particularly the tourism area was wonderful.
Yeah, the food's pretty good, too. I got to watch my waistline, though. I don't eat as much as I used to.
Okay, that's good.
Just remember, Dom, demagogues going demagogue, Republicans, and haters going to hate. Keep drinking the haterade, Republicans. Hey, what they need? More races. They don't have enough of them. This Fuentes guy, let's bring on another one. Oh, yeah. Oh, bring on more. Hey, by the way, I saw Trump's little capitulation act today with Mamdani. Oh, that was great. He calls the guy a communist, socialist, calls him everything in the book. And then he's smiling at the guy and patting him on the shoulder. Oh, yeah, you can call me a fascist. Well, hey, if the fascist shoe fits, wear it, Donald.
All right. Well, thank you, Jerome. You have a nice weekend. I wasn't a fan of the food there. I'm just saying. It wasn't, it was mediocre. All right. All righty. 833-482-5337. You heard the arguments from Ted Jenkin. I didn't hear a lot of that today. And Nikki Fuentes now. Will Republicans really say, I'm not going to condemn him? You got to be kidding me. When you look at the roll call of stuff he's done, an influencer, how he's gotten to where he is, they certainly should. Democrats got it done to them today. They're going to do it to Republicans next week, these resolutions, but not able to condemn socialism. Wow. 98 of them would not do it. Matt in Midway, Tennessee. 833-482-5337. That will get you to me. And I can hardly wait next week. He said it drops on Sunday to talk about. I may do that too, like right now, a little bit from Ted. It really does disturb people. I mean, I have people call me all the time about this, about the idea of this creep of one holiday into the other, the rush to get it out there. The one that bothers me the most is kids are hardly out of school and we're having the back-to-school sales stuff start. But for others, is it Thanksgiving that is just swept away? And even many stations starting the Christmas music. I mean, okay, maybe Monday of this coming week or even this weekend you start it. But now in Philadelphia and other places, you see it started all Christmas music like what? Right after the election. It's that long of a period of time. Why are they doing it? Because even though people complain about it, just like the overkill of constantly hearing the weather on TV and snow and all that stuff. But the research seems to indicate it moves people. They actually do want it, even though they complain about it. So his article about what happened to Thanksgiving, I think, is apropos. Phone lines, 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Dom, D-O-M, Giordano, Dom Giordano from Philadelphia, sitting in on America at Night. I'm looking now, we led off tonight, America at Night, with the news that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned from Congress effective January 5th, 2026. So it's imminent. President Trump, in getting that news, said that this is great news for the country. One of his biggest allies ever, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is leaving Congress. She posted on Twitter, I have too much self-respect and dignity, love my family way too much, and do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. Does she head to The View? Where does Marjorie Taylor Greene go? That will be interesting. Look, the left is trying to use her without a doubt. And I think she is the backstory from what we can tell. She wanted to run for the Senate in Georgia against a guy who I think Republicans can beat, Ossoff. But President Trump sent her a private poll that had her losing by 20 points. And that seemed to be when a lot of this started. Now, in truth, she has been correct in pushing consistently on the Epstein files, without a doubt, and she's right about that. She also has been one of the biggest attackers of the H-1B visas. I commend that. I don't think you can attack that enough. It is a scourge. President Trump has been wrong on that. We do have the talent. We went through that the other night. It's ridiculous. We don't need all those people. She's absolutely right. But the attacks have played into now, she's been on The View, things like that. The left uses this. The way to get a lot of attention is to be a Trump ally, then to turn on Trump. We've seen this play out again and again and again. So kind of surprising, though, on a Friday night just announcing this and suddenly out of Congress, somebody who is one of the more visible members of Congress and someone who was one of the biggest allies of President Trump. So we'll see where she lands next. The View's pretty crowded, but I don't know. I don't think they could take her on The View. She might push back on Trump, but she's still a conservative at heart. I don't think they go for that. They have that fraudulent woman on there now who was an ally or worked for President Trump and now moves to the top of the line by attacking him. That's what they really want. I don't see Marjorie Taylor Greene as being someone they could control that easily and going down that path. Boy, I loved hearing from Ted Jenkin tonight, though, encapsulating communism, socialism. Next week, when his article drops on this creep of Thanksgiving being taken away even by Christmas, we'll talk about it. All right, you can follow me on Twitter, Dom Giordano. Follow at Dom Show 1210. And again, missed opportunity with Mamdani today. I think more should have been done. Dom Giordano on America at Night on Westwood One.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hey, what a week sitting in Dom Giordano in America at Night. Wow. As we end it, we're on the cusp of an anniversary that used to get more coverage, but I want to use it to talk about something. I'm a big fan of Gerald Posner. He wrote the definitive book, I believe, on JFK and what happened in Dallas. And he believes, as I do, I've been there. If you ever have a chance, Dealey Plaza, the museum there. I didn't check today to see if it's still there, but the last time I looked, it's unbelievable. You can stand, and they have plexiglass right there on the 7th floor. Book depository was turned into this, where Lee Harvey Oswald, I believe, shot the President of the United States. Now, you may differ on that. You may love the conspiracies, but the anniversary, of course, starts in just minutes, really. And I maintain this is the event. And a Posner I had on the other day, he thinks there could be 2,000 books that have been written about this. O'Reilly has a great one on it, Killing Kennedy. This started the conspiracy mongering and then married with social media to levels that are unbelievable. I mean, just it is our daily life here. There's nothing like it. So I'll give you an opportunity, 833-482-5337. We've seen now Trump release the MLK material, the RFK assassination, and Kennedy. And nothing really changed after we've got those documents that have been long held in secret. The Epstein thing we're going to get hopefully sometime before Christmas. Are they going to do it during the Christmas break? We'll see. But conspiracy is just ever present, constantly. The point I make as an anti-conspiracy guy, how hard it is to do a conspiracy and keep it going. So is there a conspiracy that you're tired of? You're tired of hearing people all the time bring it up as if it's a statement of fact that this happened and people conspired to do it. You know, we've gone through some fatigue on Epstein too. I can't for the life of me figure out why President Trump, I've had on national people, they don't know either, would have resisted releasing the Epstein files. We're still afraid that a great part of it is going to be redacted. That's going to be a mistake if they ever do that, and I'm going to be one of the first to say that. Trump is not implicated in this by all the accounts, all the stuff we've seen. You've had people say, no, he wasn't involved in this. Now, the relationship is bad enough with Epstein and all that went into it, but that can't be the motivation. Is there something there where it's just, look, some people are going to be hurt that didn't do anything because their name is going to be mentioned in an email? I still think we have to see them. So what is the conspiracy out there? I mean, just think of where we've gone. The number of people who don't believe we landed on the moon. Just the most ludicrous. I don't know if that's the most ludicrous of all. Sports conspiracies all over the place, constantly. And why? Because with social media, etc., it drives clicks. It gets people upset, and they want more information. They want to be the ones to figure it out. So if you have one of those, and again, I recommend that museum, though. I think they've captured it beautifully there. If you go on Dealey Plaza, there are a whole array of people hawking all kinds of conspiracies. It's amazing. Phone lines, 833-482-5337. One more bit of sound to play you, though. We've been talking all week, and rightfully so, and it continues. It's gotten worse. Now, those 6 Democrats, because of what Trump said about sedition and execution, have reported him to the police where they are. Here is Chrissy Houlihan, one of the worst, the woman from the Air Force who's in my area in the suburbs of Philadelphia. She's on with Aaron Burnett. Listen to what she says about unlawful orders. She's also said today in various places, well, Trump has already had 200 judges knock down stuff that he ordered, so that's why we alerted people in the military. Those are not orders, Chrissy Houlihan. They're executive decisions, and then the courts decide whether they're constitutional, legal, or whatever. That's the normal business of the country. Here's a little bit with Houlihan on CNN. Cut 5.
Uniform Code of Military Justice, which, as you were saying, all members of the military should be familiar with, right? It explicitly states, Congresswoman, that members of the military must follow only lawful orders, right? So that's in their existing code of honor and conduct. So I'm curious as to why you and others, I see Senator Kelly there, why you chose to put this video out now if that's already in the military code, or if there is something specific that you have seen happen that made you think you needed to do this.
And this seems to be everybody's, question of the moment. This wasn't, in response to any one event, but rather sort of a piling up of events and occurrences. Over the last 10 or so months, we've seen hundreds of examples of President Trump's orders being questioned by the courts, and hundreds of examples of those being ruled, sometimes by Trump's judges themselves, that they are unlawful. And so there wasn't any one thing in the past that we were talking about. We were largely aiming ourselves at the future to remind people in uniform of their obligation and responsibility to the Constitution and not to the president.
Is there any challenge in you, Aaron Burnett and the others here? Are you kidding me? These are not orders. This is what the executive does. We go back, President Obama, Joe Biden. They had things knocked down. A judge here and there. Some they were appointed by a different president. Those are not orders. They're executive policies or decisions that are made, and the courts say yay or nay on them. That's the usual business. And she gets away with calling them direct orders. That's why they had to tell the military of this. It is endless. This is not going to end easily for them. This continues. I played you tonight the Republican veterans' response to it, calling it a stunt. That's exactly what it was. All right, phone lines are 833-482-5337. You can get on board and hit me with your response to this, and particularly JFK. It's an anniversary, even though now it seems a million years ago that we remember this. It is a day that will live forever, and I think it gave rise to a lot of the conspiracies that we see. 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
It's Dom Giordano sitting in America at Night, 833-482-5337. Coming to your calls. By the way, during that break, I just saw that Mikey Sherrill, this woman who it's hard to believe won the governorship of New Jersey by the margin that she did, told the world she's considering stopping New Jersey from sending federal tax money in as a way to push back against the administration. She's the helicopter pilot, too, who has been cheering on the six that are trying to cause disruption in the military. They have it in their head on all fronts after all that no king stuff. So Jersey doesn't want to send in its federal taxes now, potentially. Okay, you're asking for it. How much money can we take away? Where I am in Pennsylvania, President Trump is talking about $75 million in road money that'll be taken from Pennsylvania, rightfully so, because there are at least 12 CDL licensees who are here illegally that Pennsylvania's put out, and they won't rescind it, and they won't stop it. Continue to take away the money. They want to do this nonsense, counter it. But can you imagine, she's not even in office yet, and this is what she's floating. How about if we don't pay our federal taxes? How about if I keep that money in Trenton and we not send it to Washington? All right, let's go to Robert, Charleston, South Carolina, WTMA. Hi, Robert.
Hi, sir. I just wanted to say that, with regard to socialism, communism, and free market economy, I've seen successful societies in all three. Now, most of them are a combination of the three, including our own. I remember back about 50 years ago in Israel, the kibbutz was great in coming. I mean, there were people who were ready, willing, and able, who were very successful people, who became successful people on the kibbutz and shared their money with the rest of everybody else. There were some people who couldn't make money to save their lives, and there were some people who made a ton of money in those kibbutzes, and they shared equally. And the same thing happened in northern Italy. There are a lot of little villages there that operate under a communistic system. They're related to each other, and they have similar thoughts, similar ideas. They love each other, and communism has seemed to work there for a long time.
I've been there, Robert, recently with listeners. I wouldn't say there's a lot of poverty there. It doesn't seem to be flourishing in Israel. And the kibbutz, again, I take you at your word, but that's a relatively small system across the board. Communism ultimately is not going to work on any kind of larger scale because it goes against human nature.
Well, that depends on the society and on the people and their relationship to each other. You've heard of communal societies, and in a lot of cases they worked pretty well. Sometimes, most of the time, it's the leadership that would cause the problems because you have corruption that can easily creep into those kinds of societies.
Yes, but Robert, I would say I think you're being a little kind here. I don't think Israel is communistic across the board. They do have the kibbutz, but it's a thriving, I've been there, capitalist economy that works. Doesn't it go against human nature on a larger scale? To your point, you say these people know each other, they love each other, they're connected. Okay, but by and large, people don't want to give up their ability to achieve.
They would do it for the common good. A lot of people would. A lot of people would give their own organs just because other people need them, even though they're not even related to them. They'll do that. Even anonymously, some people do that. Some people do that. And if people are cut out for that kind of a thing and they love each other, like family members, I mean, parents give their children everything. They don't, without a second thought, they would die.
That is not communism, though. That is parental. That's much different. Thank you, Robert, very much. Nice try on it. I appreciate that you're, there's some small examples. I'm just back from Italy and Sicily, and that's not what I saw. By the way, a little update. Where I am, the Philadelphia Inquirer was exercised today. They ran this big piece saying that Reuters did a study that about 600 people in the wake of the killing of Charlie Kirk lost their jobs or were suspended or were dock pay or whatever because of the outrageous things they said, like celebrating his death when he was shot. And they think there's something wrong with this, and it's not governmental. A lot of these were teachers, universities, and the like, and they didn't want to take the hit in public opinion because people were outraged by it. You remember that. I think it's more than 600. I think it's a lot more than 600, but that's the number that Reuters settled on, and the Inquirer thinks, well, can't people, it's not a freedom of speech issue. We've been through this many times. You know what it is. It's a fact that people can make a decision then not to do business and in any way, shape, or form to condemn the institution that allows this to go on. Wishing for the death, celebrating that, some of the statements that were made, particularly with the widow, etc., is just out of bounds. That's what the bottom line is. 833-482-5337. You can get on board. You heard Chrissy Houlihan with Aaron Burnett. The dumbest comment, and Burnett sits there. Those 200 cases, if there are, some of these are judges that just hate Trump. Some of them, most of them, are just the normal course of business. The executive makes a decision and says, this is our policy, this is what we're going to do, even if it's an executive order. Just look at what Biden did. Just look at the military part of this. Where were these people when Biden said you're going to be kicked out of the military or worse if you don't get the COVID shot? No eruption, no sense of, whoa, wait a minute. The military should be able to refuse to do that. What about their autonomy? We heard none of that. Why are we hearing it now? It's a stunt, and it's starting to backfire. And they're going to continue it, though, because they are being egged on by left-wing things to say, now the military is going to be our resource. Why is the recruitment for the military up almost astronomically if Trump is viewed in such a negative light by military members? Let me go to Frank in Cumberland, Maryland, WCBC, where I broadcast from many times years ago. Hey, Frank, welcome to America at Night.
Earlier this week, I heard a news report, just once, that Michael Bloomberg, the ex-mayor of New York City, has contributed $1 billion, that's B with a billion, to his alma mater, Johns Hopkins University, so that outstanding students could go there with tuition free. And yet, I haven't heard anything else about it in all the news outlets. Is it true? And if it is true, why haven't we heard more about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he has billions. I didn't know he went to Johns Hopkins. But Frank will Google it at least. Thank you. Thanks for the tip. Nobody would be covering up. It's beautiful if that's what he wants to do. $1 billion, though. Yeah, he's right, though. You'd think that would have made a splash. I can't, in a busy news week, remember seeing anything like that. All right, tomorrow we commemorate, what is it now, 37? Is it 3725? Is it 62nd anniversary? It's hard to believe, of the assassination of President Kennedy. The Walter Cronkite moment, the swearing-in moment, the John moment saluting his dad, and on that it went. But it also gave rise to the conspiracy mongering par excellence. Scott in Hartford, Connecticut, WDRC. Hey, Scott.
Great job filling in for Rich.
Well, thank you, Scott.
And listening to you for a little while, I just wanted to add a little bit of color to the conversation you just had with Robert.
Yeah.
And his point about, the combo socialism, communism. I think he neglected to sort of push back on the fact that socialism, the primary tenet is the government owns the means of production.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I get your point. The kibbutz is that's different there. I don't think the government involvement is it. You're right. Fascism also the means of production. That's the line that gets crossed. And again, I was trying to talk to him, Scott, on a small scale where people are involved and communal with each other. Of course, anything could work. But you're right. Maybe we wouldn't call that socialism.
Yeah. Well, because that's a charitable community.
Yeah.
Because in reality, in socialism, those benevolent people that give to the poor don't exist. That becomes the government.
Well put. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the update or amplifying it or correction. Yeah, I accept that. You're right. That might be a better critique. And these towns in Italy, I wouldn't call it poverty where we were in Calabria and all, but they're not doing overwhelmingly well. And their health system leaves a lot to be desired. We had one person on the trip had maybe a sprained ankle. They had him in a wheelchair, x-ray in the hospital in the wheelchair, had no place to put your feet at the bottom. It was from the 1930s. So they were talking about the wonders of medicine in Italy. People are not going to Italy for surgery that really matters. They're coming here. My name is Dom Giordano. You're listening to America at Night, and that's on Westwood One.
This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
All right, it's Dom Giordano sitting in on America at Night, and you have access to get on board coast to coast, 833-482-5337. Again, what a week, and the thing that stands out, could we have predicted at the beginning of the week Trump would be saying bye-bye, don't let the door hit you to Marjorie Taylor Greene, while shaking hands with Mamdani and talking about how they got along so swimmingly in the White House today. Can't write this stuff. America's in a different place as far as the excitement, as far as the constant motion in all this. And out of nowhere, the thing that grabs attention with all that going on are these 6 Democrats, intelligence community, military, pulling a stunt that can have deadly consequence. It's stunning. They've been hit around quite a bit, but the media is still protecting them, allowing them not to be specific, to say crazy stuff, like the president has already had 200 illegal orders rejected by the courts. What? How are these orders? How is that the area of rejection that's happened? No, it has nothing to do with that, and they'll continue to flounder, and the Republicans have, I played it for you, I had a pushback of their veterans doing exactly that, calling it a stunt. The thing to look at, though, as we head toward next week, even during Thanksgiving week, I think it would be early on in the week, Schumer putting up a resolution now in the Senate. Will the Senate vote to condemn Nick Fuentes? Today in the House, the Democrats had to condemn, and 98 of them would not, socialism. And you heard a guy call in, and I think that's a good point, that socialism, the government involvement, the means of production, like in New York with Mamdani, the bus companies, the supermarkets. Can you imagine the government running any of these things in any way, shape, or form? What will happen? That's a critical element. It's not just people sharing communally under their free will. It becomes the mechanism. It becomes the infrastructure. Is the government. That is a big play. And the biggest way, that's why I was hoping today that the president would go toe-to-toe with Mamdani more on this whole issue. That was the moment. I'm not talking tactically. I'm talking the broad issue. The thing that has to be done in schools, and I've had Ryan Walters on, who headed up schools in Oklahoma during this stint, sitting in on America Tonight, is that we have to reinforce the idea there's nothing new. As slick as Mamdani is, he's not saying anything new at the macro level. This is what socialism is. This is what they do. Any number of people in New York think they're on to something brand new. This happens every 8 to 10 years, where over time they forget we've done this before. It's always going to be different. There's always a spin placed on it. Oh, but this is different. It's not. To greater or lesser degrees, it fails. We're going to be having Thanksgiving less than a week away. How did it work out for the Pilgrims when it was communal, when it was socialistic, versus when they were on their own, although taking care of the entire community? Much better, right? That's the major lesson of the Pilgrims more than anything else. I don't think that's being talked about in schools. Schools are not looking for the opportunities, and they don't have to talk up pure, unbridled capitalism. They just cannot allow people to believe that socialism is this brand new idea that has no downside and is going to result in misery for people. And I believe Mamdani is not a socialist. I think he's a communist, ultimately. Maybe not in the way that you're ever going to see him like Chairman Mao or Putin or something of that nature. But that's where his instinct is. He's really a Nepo baby. The parents have had oodles of money. He's gone to schools that were $60,000 a year. And yet he wants to attack parents who want their kids in gifted and talented programs in the New York public schools. That's going on as we speak. So watch for this week. And this Fuentes guy is not worth the battle to be in any way, shape, or form supporting him. Watch for this to play out. Yeah, I wrote it down on my sheet tonight for the last hour or two. One TV tip, if you're looking for something good this weekend, I kind of stumbled on it on Netflix, Lightning. It's the story of James Garfield, who could have been a really consequential president, one of the 4 that was assassinated. And the guy who did it wanted to be a great man, Guteau. He was such a goof, he was kicked out of the free love farm where women were supposed to have sex with you at will. They wouldn't do it with him. They did it with others. And ultimately, he turned his attention to killing Garfield, and he succeeded. It took him a while. He was hit, and he died as the complication CEPUS from the wound that he got. But remarkably done. It's beautifully done. I think you'll recognize some of the actors. And it really gets into that era, the spoils system, etc., and some of the main players. but the acting and the writing are tremendous. It's now on Netflix. That's what I watched last weekend, so I'm looking for something else. You can always hit me on Twitter at DomShow1210 if you have anything else in mind. But as we turn toward next week, even though we have to break for Thanksgiving a bit, there will be this contention still going forward with these military Democrats and also with Schumer coming up with this is a way to make his bones again. We're going to have this debate over Nick Fuentes. We ought to be shocked that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns in such dramatic fashion. The all-time ally, I would put her in the top 3 with President Trump, is now going to be out of Congress on January 5th, and Trump has said America is better off at this point. I thought she would come back. I thought they'd be allies again. Now I'm not seeing it, and I think she could even run for president in 2028. I don't know what she'll do in 26. If The View wants her occasionally, she'll be on there. I only interviewed her once on the book that she wrote, and I was ready for craziness, and she wasn't. And during this period of time, I still think she has Trump's best interest at heart, even though they're feuding. She was right about Epstein. She's right about the HB1 visas are just a fraudulent enterprise to undercut American workers. I can't answer why President Trump doesn't see that. It should play right into his America First agenda, but apparently he keeps on going around saying that we don't have enough talent, things of that nature that we talked about. All right, love to get you on board, 833-482-5337. One thing that President Trump did do, and Rich, this will be cut 3, here is a little bit of Putin and Zelensky's reaction to something that could be huge news coming this week, where Trump put out 28 points on Ukraine. He's tired of all this back and forth, nothing happening. And he said, we're not going to continue to fund you come Thanksgiving if this isn't settled. Well, how's that going to move Putin off his spot if that's what the threat is? I don't know what the threat is toward Russia from the president. Here's how it sounded, cut 3.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy says that he is facing a difficult choice as President Trump puts pressure on the Ukrainian president to give up some territory and limit the size of their military as part of a 28-point peace plan with Russia. Senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner reports from the State Department. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Martha. So Trump officials has slapped this Thanksgiving Day deadline on Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to sign the peace deal with Russia. Interestingly, Vladimir Putin just weighed in with his response to this news. He says he doesn't think it's happening. Take a listen.
I believe it can be used as the basis of a final peaceful settlement, but it has not been discussed with us in detail. The U.S. administration has so far failed to secure Ukraine's consent. Ukraine is against it.
President Trump today said it is a race against the clock for Ukraine. He said they can either concede territory now or they can concede it later once even more Ukrainians have perished.
They will lose in a short period of time.
The whole of Donbass?
They're losing land. They're losing land.
So
we're in it for one thing. We want the killing. You know, they lost 25,000 people last month between the two countries. 25,000 people. It's out of control. It's a bloodbath.
Zelenskyy is speaking out, too. He says President Trump has really put his country in a very difficult spot now. Listen.
We will not make any loud statements. We will work calmly with America and all our partners. We will definitely not give the enemy any reason to say that Ukraine does not want peace, that it is disrupting the process, and that Ukraine is not ready for diplomacy. That will not happen.
So one point folks can be hopeful about, Martha, is I just spoke to a senior administration official who told me that included in this 28-point plan that they have presented to Ukraine is a NATO-style security agreement for Ukraine. That is a big sweetener for Zelenskyy, something that could, push this thing over the finish line, maybe.
All right, watch for this now as we head toward Thanksgiving. Difficult situation there for Zelenskyy. President Trump trying to bring it to a head. A NATO-style, not NATO, but NATO-style security thing is something Zelenskyy will really try to button up. Do I think it'll happen before Thanksgiving? No. I think Putin will continue to slow walk this until he sees no more advantage. Okay, 833-482-5337. That's how you get in on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Dom Giordano rounding out the week with you. It's been a great one here. Let's go to Steve in Atlanta, Georgia, WGKA. Hi, Steve.
Hey, how are you?
Good, Steve.
Good. So I wanted to just that you made a statement a little while ago that she is against H-1Bs.
Yes, HB1 visa. Yes, yes,
HPB.
Yes.
But I saw her in a video that was highlighted on Louder with Crowder, and she's flip-flopped. So before, now just so you know, she owns a construction company that's worth $30 million, right?
Right.
So she's going back to her company. But before, she was on a video, and he showed it on his podcast. Her saying that she's totally for H-1Bs. And
well,
okay?
I don't. Wait a minute. I don't know how all that is, but since I've been following what she's been saying, it seems like a pretty long period of time that she's been a force pushing back against this.
Trump did something that's going to require, and you can look it up. I just looked it up. It takes effect soon, like in the next couple months. Trump had an executive order where every new H-1B visa applicant has to pay a $100,000 one-time fee to the federal government. That's going to pretty much stop all of it. Because I
hear what you're saying, your point. Yet we went through again last night, Steve. He started talking about companies investing in America, how America doesn't have talent. Do what you want, bring your people in. I'm really tired of that.
Me too, but hey, if it's worth $100,000 as a fee for each and every one of them, I'm for that. Okay, great. Then you show me that it's not about saving money and you just need the talent.
Okay, we'll see if that actually goes in the manner you're talking about. I think it's going to be negotiated down. That would curtail it a good bit. I would agree. Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Right,
good point. Thank you. Have a nice night. Art in Chicago, Illinois, WLS. Hello, Art.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you for taking my call, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you, Art, very much.
Thank you. And I think if Republicans and conservatives don't speak against anti-Semites, against Jew haters and Israel haters, then it's going to bring down the Republican Party. And maybe that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is in trouble, because she accused Israel of genocide, which is blatant lie, and it's really, I don't know if she hates Jews or she's just ignorant or both.
Well, you know what? That is one of her biggest downsides. Without a doubt, she's been in that camp, and particularly Tucker Carlson, that whole gang. You're exactly right. That's why it's going to be interesting, Art, to see the vote next week on Fuentes. I don't know why any Republican would feel uncomfortable saying that Nick Fuentes is out of bounds.
Yeah, it should be easy call. It's not a heavy lift. I don't know why we're having trouble.
No, not at all. Thank you, Art, very much. Let's go to Al in Wilmington, Delaware. WDEL. Hello, Al.
Hello, Dom. How you been?
Very good, Al. Good to hear from you.
Great. It's good to hear you all the time, Dom, especially in Philly during the daytime.
Well, thank you.
I did want to follow up on a comment you made earlier about Social Security being like socialism, which I'm sure you realize it's taken out of all of our paychecks.
Right.
And with an employer match as well. So it's hardly socialism.
Well, we don't get to just take that money and invest it if we want in something. Al, I said it's not fully socialistic, but it ages toward that. Is the NFL a socialist enterprise?
Given all the money they're making, I would think not.
Well, yes, but look at what their business model is. And I would cite the Philadelphia Eagles as an example. The reason they want to ban the tush push, they want parity. Other teams can't stop it.
Well, I mean, that's the only protected sport congressionally is baseball.
Right. Well, that's another angle of it. Well, how about drafting someone? That offends me, that you can draft someone and you can't really go anywhere else. It's the NFL or that's it. They control it.
They control most of it in this country, but then there have been players that have gone overseas as well.
To play football?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I know they have a league, but, the Canadian League or the Overseas League, Al, I don't think is, on any kind of par. But thank you, Al. It's like the minor leagues. Thank you very much for it. So maybe people believe that it's not. It's the all-American sport. They do make a lot of money. My point is they're all in it together. Technically, it's about winning, but they want parity. That's why if you come in last place, what happens? You don't get kicked out like in soccer. What do you get? The number one draft pick. All right, final roundup coming up. 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Dom Giordano sitting in on America at Night. And again, great calls all night long. If you missed it, really loved talking with Ted Jenkin tonight, the guy who runs his business group that Fox featured today. And I wish his 5 points on socialism, we would have seen more back and forth with Mamdani. He's got a new one coming out on Sunday about the killing of Thanksgiving by Christmas, just butting Thanksgiving aside, which I think is the purest and the best of our holidays. Think about it. There's no ulterior presents or any big national thing like July 4th. What is it about? Family, friends, great food, football, those kinds of things. And it is such a delight to have the opportunities. First time I think I've ever done a week on America Tonight. I'll be back with you next week. And even though it's Thanksgiving week, as I said, watch this Fuentes thing, watch the Democrats continue to attack throughout the weekend. They won't give it up on this military thing. It's just a stunt. And there's going to be a political price to pay for this. Americans are not with this. Thanks to Rich Good for producing all week with me, and executive producer Alex Hinton. Dom, D-O-M, Giordano. Follow on Twitter at DomShow1210. America Tonight on Westwood 1.